This is a first step. Protecting our children is one of the first things we should do with this bill. The second thing is, and I intend to work with them to take this, the Geltrude Foundation, and this to be known as the Mike Geltrude Bill, in honor of him, forward to make sure we're doing education throughout the state and the country on this. And they are tied into national organizations, and I'd like to recognize them and thank them for the help on the bill today.
And welcome back to Meet the Leaders, and I am here with Assemblyman Scalera, and we've been talking about autism and everything that you've been working on to raise awareness. And another thing you're very involved with is Homeland Security. And tell me about your experience with taking care of people and keeping people secure in the state of New Jersey.
Actually, I've been involved in emergency management for about 20 years. I'm the coordinator in Nutley. I'm the deputy coordinator for Essex County and the director of HAZMAT for Essex. And I volunteer in those positions for the county because they're a needed role, and I enjoy doing those things. And through them, I sit on what's called the Urban Area Security Initiative, and it's called UASI for short. Which is what actually, if you just saw the funding releases coming out to the UASI areas, that there's 12 of them in the United States. We're in the Newark region. It's 7 counties in northern New Jersey. It's funding for preparedness for the states, and I'm proud to say I'm very involved in that.
You're involved with that, and it's bringing in quite a bit of money for us, and that's going to help. Now tell me about the experience that 9/11 taught you, because I heard it's a very interesting story.
Well, actually, on 9/11, contaminated people, we're not know if they were contaminated, but people started arriving from New York City into Hoboken on barges, on boats, anything that floated, and were coming in with covered material. University Hospital was running the triage out there and contacted me, and said, do you think we should need to clean these people? And I said, well, listen, at minimal, concrete dust is corrosive. There could be asbestos. We should. And we wound up Nutley involved with many other towns, and we organized that day from Nutley. We decontaminated 10,000 people that day coming in from there. And actually, if you look at the health results, I say from New York to New Jersey, and we only did that thinking about concrete and asbestos, you'll see much lower of people with respiratory problems on the New Jersey side from the New York side. Not that they couldn't do it on that side, except there was so much more happening on the New York side. We had time to think about it as they were coming to New Jersey, and were able to react differently.
So you were actually there that day, and you were actually helping people coming back?
Actually, I was running it that day from the command post. My team was dispatched there.
Wow.
And then I was organizing all the other teams that we were sending, how we were doing it, where we were bringing it in from. Actually.
It's a huge responsibility when you're involved with anything like that, you know, with the state of New Jersey. We were talking also about that big steam pipe explosion that happened recently in New York City, and you know, the concerns that people have about something like that. And what are your thoughts on something like that when that happens?
Well, you know, the mayor was quite right about, you know, it's a timed exposure on asbestos, but they also still said all the precautions of bagging the clothing this time. They had decon ready to go. It wasn't a catastrophic situation where they didn't have time to talk to the people. But since 9/11, the UASI region money and other Homeland Security funds has allowed New York to have better preparedness. And you saw the trucks arriving, you saw tents going out, you saw decon pools going set up. You know, they have a great system in place, and it's all a matter of what we learned since September 11th, actually.
Is there a lot of extra training going on with the fire departments and the police departments since 9/11 in Homeland Security?
Quite a bit, just as well as on the fire department side. You know, after 9/11, I'm actually out of the township of Nutley working with DEP and the State Department of Health, designed a mass decontamination program for New Jersey. And in the UASI region, we've funded the equipment. We're funding the training this year. But we've had a program up and running for a couple of years, even through State Department of Health. And actually, New Jersey supplied all the mass decontamination for Katrina for 17 weeks, which I helped coordinate through the state command post, actually.
Now, I understand that you actually went down, you were down in New Orleans as well. You were down there for a while?
That's correct. Our first contingent left over the road, and I then flew down to meet our decontamination teams down there. I flew out on a KC-195 air refueler out of McGuire that was flying water down, so I grabbed it like a taxi, flew down there, worked on some of the decon program, then came back up and finished coordinating it.
So what type of work did you do down there that we could, you know, just to give us an idea, decon program, what does that exactly mean?
Actually, our decontamination teams went down to actually take care of the teams that were there. Every night we were decontaminating police cars, firefighters, police officers, medical people, anybody working down there. There was oil facilities underwater, there were sewage treatment plants, so their chemical and biologicals were all over, contaminants were all over, each night we would make sure all the emergency responders and their equipment were prepared, cleaned, and ready to go for the next day and protected.
How do you actually, decontaminate somebody? What's the process like?
A lot of water, a lot of bleach, a lot of equipment, pressure washers. In fact, it was quite unique. We never designed the program to travel that far. So getting a program 1,800 miles away was one thing. And then when we got there, there was no pressurized water. Well, we were either planning on fire trucks or fire hydrants. So actually, when I flew down, I brought electric portable pumps with me so we could pressurize these water tankers that the military was supplying to us, so we could use the water, because we didn't have water that was pressurized, and you need that for decon.
So the person actually just stands there. Do they go into any type of shower situation, or are they just
set
on
up
the
portable
street?
showers,
and
different areas to contain it and things like that.
Wow, so it's a whole process. It's a whole
It is a whole
process.
process. And New Jersey, I will say proudly, in New Jersey, we've taken a lot of steps. And it's a partnership with the state police. It's a partnership with the State Department of Health. It's a partnership out with the Owasso region. We have designed probably the largest program in the United States to be able to prepare people. After September 11th, everybody wanted to start. We need this. We need hazmat teams. I kept selling the point, and it worked well, that we need to think about the people that are running out. All these people are contaminated, whether it's a chemical incident or it's a Katrina incident. We need to protect people, and the first thing to do is the walking wounded that's coming out, we need to take care of them first. First thing we do is get the contaminants off, and so we can protect them, and then go in and handle the scene itself, and that's what we've done here.
So if there's any type of an explosion or a catastrophe, you're notified, and people on your level are notified, and you send the men out and women to help.
That's correct.
That's how it works.
We've done legislation that even created a higher standard for the hazmat teams to operate in New Jersey to control that and how that's going to occur, and that was some of the legislation I've done also. So I've been able to take real-world experience, turn it into legislation, and hopefully help make New Jersey a little bit safer.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a good job at that. Tell me more about Homeland Security and anything else that may be on the agenda with that.
Well, some of the other things working on Homeland Security, you might have just seen the Star Ledger article about rail safety. The rail companies have a way of tracking what's in their rail cars all over New Jersey, but it wasn't a shared piece of information. Working with the governor's office and Director Conyers, who's in charge of Homeland Security, he's Homeland Security Director, I worked with him, and we set up a cooperative program. You know, Homeland Security isn't just a municipality, isn't just a county, it's just a state, but it's a public-private partnership. If we don't all work together, we'll never be any safer tomorrow than we could be today. But we did this piece of legislation. Actually, if you were caught on railroad property, it was disorderly persons offense, municipal court, whether you were a child playing or you were a terrorist. So what we did is we just done a piece of legislation that increased it can be up to a second-degree crime now if you're caught trespassing on railroad property. And for that, the railroad has said, listen, you've done that for us. We will now share, and it's at Homeland Security available. It's not somebody can just look it up. But during a large emergency, we can say we have this tanker, and here's the number sitting in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and they can instantly tell us what's in the tanker, where it is, and what's going on with it. So they, because of our public-private partnership, us increasing the trespass clauses, have now shared information to us that makes New Jersey much safer.
Good. We'll talk more about that public-private partnership that you were just talking about when we come back for break, because I think that's an interesting point to bring across to everybody. Okay, thank you so much, Assemblyman. And we're going to be right back with more from the Assemblyman right after these messages. Please stay tuned.